Crime Cafe, your podcasting source of great crime, suspense, and thriller writing. I'm your host, Debbi Mack. Before I bring on my guest, I'll just remind you that the Crime Cafe has 2 ebooks for sale, the 9-book box set and the short story anthology. You can find the buy links for both on my website, debbimack.com, under the Crime Cafe link. You can also get a free copy of either book if you become a Patreon supporter. You'll get that and much more if you support the podcast on Patreon, along with our eternal gratitude for doing so. But first, let me put in a good word for Blueberry Podcasting. I'm a Blueberry affiliate, but that's not the only reason I'm telling you this. I've been using Blueberry Podcasting as my hosting service for my podcast for years, and it's one of the best decisions I ever made. They give great customer service. You're in complete control of your own podcast. You can run it from your own website. And it just takes a lot of the work out of podcasting for me. I find for that reason that it's a company that I can get behind 100% and say, you should try this. Try Blueberry. It doesn't require a long-term contract, and it's just a great company, period. And it also has free technical support by email, video, and phone. So you can get a human being there. Isn't that nice? Hi, everyone. We are back with a new season of the show, which is starting its 11th year. I can't believe I've been doing it this long. And once again, I have with me one of the crime genre's most multimedia and multi-hyphenate entrepreneurs out there. His business, American Blackguard, does film and television production as well as publishing. He's also the organizer and promoter for the Killer Nashville Conference, which will be coming up later this year. It's my pleasure to introduce my guest, Clay Stafford. Hi, Clay. How are you doing?
Hi,
Let's see if I can
Debbie.
get you on camera. There we go.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
11 years.
11 freaking years. Can you freaking believe?
Stamina.
It's insane. It's what
Yeah.
there's stamina. Yeah, I'm mustering up the stamina to keep it going. Yeah.
Well, for Killer Nashville, we're coming up on 20 years.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. So stamina.
Amen to that, man. Amen. I hear you. Apart from getting ready for the conference, what projects are you currently working on? What's on your front burner, so to speak?
I've actually got 3 projects that I'm working on right now. One is a nonfiction book, and the other is a memoir. And because, I come from a very eclectic kind of Appalachian background, and then went country boy, went to the city, and so there's some things to discuss there. And then I'm working on a novel
Wow.
now, the first in a series. It's got a few short stories and poems and stuff like that out, and some essays. And but those are the long-term projects that I'm working on right now.
Very cool. It's funny you should say you were a country boy who found the city. I was a
Yes.
city girl who ended up in the country
Well,
briefly.
yeah. So I sort of came back. I was a New York guy, a Los Angeles guy, and a Miami guy, and went back and forth from place to place in those areas, but ended up in Nashville. So I don't know if we can call Nashville the country, but it's back towards home where I'm from in Tennessee.
It's not quite as country as, say, Bakersfield, California.
No, I've been to Bakersfield. I love Bakersfield. But no, it's still we've got our family farm back in East Tennessee, and so I've still got roots in that area, and spend a lot of time in North Georgia and areas like that. So I get out in the tick country. So uh,
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah.
Very good. Nashville is also a big place for music, correct?
Yeah, they do a little bit of music here.
Uh-huh. A little bit of music. Just a
Yeah.
little.
Yeah, and the little community I live in is replete with country music and gospel, pop performers, writers, producers, and stuff. And so we have these tour buses that come by all the time. And I never thought I would live, in an area where tour buses uh, come by to point at houses and things, and say, so and so lives there, so and so lives there. But it's just, yeah, Nashville's got its charm, that's for sure.
My goodness, that must be quite a thing, having tour buses come through your neighborhood. Um, Things have changed so fast in terms of the publishing industry and the movie industry and the television industry that I see them kind of coming together. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that they're definitely tied together now because we are in a position where we're doing IP, intellectual property, more. That's what I focus on more right now. I used to say that I was a writer or a filmmaker, but right now I would say that I'm an IP creator. And
Hmm.
it's because so many, it's different. It's no different than you take a book and then make an audio book and make a ebook from it. It's the same property that's being construed in multiple media. And so I think, yes, they all come together because it's the way people are digesting the entertainment and information right now. So it is becoming one. But for me, with my eclectic life as a filmmaker and a writer and, all of that, for me, it has always been one. So for me, it's almost like, oh, the world is coming full circle back to where I've always been, which was create something and then just decide what plate we want to serve the meal on. And that's what all these different medias are, just the plate that you're serving the meal on. And some people want to eat out of a hardcover book, and some people want to eat out of a movie theater. And so it really, you're just satisfying the needs and the options and choices, the wonderful options and choices, because there are people who are auditory, people who are visual, and being able to read and comprehend. All of those are strengths, and we're all wired differently. And more, we're finding psychologically that each of us learns differently and processes differently. And creating all these avenues for single stories is, to me, like all progress for me. I love progress. I love technology. I love innovation. And so for me, I think that it's an incredible time to be in.
It is definitely. People are doing things out there that are just amazing, but sometimes it's a matter of being seen, being visible. Uh, do you have any thoughts on what authors can do to make themselves more visible in a way that's not simply saying, hey, buy my book, buy my book?
Yeah. I think just being authentic, I think we are really in a position where um, writers used to have this hallowed place as these intellectual people who lived in ivory towers and produced tomes that everyone loved to read. And even, I think, even, the noir authors were romanticized to
Hmm.
a great degree, because we know what writing is. It's sitting there and typing on a keyboard and watching the cursor go across the screen. It's very exciting. So it's you know so it's I think that there's um, been a change in our society, just like there is a change in technology that we just talked about in the previous paragraph, where you don't even have to have, you're going to get hate mail for this maybe, but You don't even have to have any talent. You don't have to have skills. You don't have to have whatever to be a celebrity. You just have to be on TV. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
can
hear that.
you can take this any way you want, but you can be anybody in America that you want as long as you've been on TV and have had no experience at all. You can be anything you want because you've been on TV. So, in terms of that, I say that writers have come to a point that they can't rely on their intellectual laurels. They can't rely on their talent and skills anymore. They have to become visual, and that means being on TV. Well, even in our lifetime, that whole concept has changed, right? It's no longer TV, but what in the world is TV? Everything's, a streaming something. So I think
Exactly.
the way to get out there, and people have become, I think you've got to get out of your head in terms of being and thinking, looking at it from your side out, and instead look from the other side towards you. And what they really, really are looking for is some truth and reality. They're fascinated by people's lives. That's why you have so many reality TV shows and reality programs and even reality, forensic files, reality, whatever, because people are really interested in the other people's lives. Some fancy and glamorous and some just strange and crazy, but all of them
Yeah.
seem to be like a train wreck. You watch. I don't want to say that your life writers needs to become a train wreck, but I would say that getting your story, getting your personality out there, and in a way becoming your own celebrity, because even posting, on everybody, used to put on post on social media, even just posting on social media now with the algorithms, you're completely lost on that. I think you should do things that you can control,
Yes.
like have like your own, if you have like a YouTube channel, or you have your own newsletter list, or you have your own something that you can control and something that you own, as opposed to, social media and all, things that you have no control over their algorithms. That's the things that writers need to do in terms of building a platform. And then I'd say build it on authenticity, not fluff, not buy my product, but I mean, on social media, I get some of my greatest uh, likes and positive comments when I'm sitting there with my Doberman lap dog sitting in my lap, because people are they respond to things that are real.
Hmm.
So I think, and in that, people get to know you, not because you're pushing it on them, but because of their natural curiosity of, oh, Debbi Mack seems very interesting. What does she do? Oh, she does that. Well, that's interesting. I'll take a look at that. And I think we're at a place now where the consumer, the reader, is the one who will follow the breadcrumbs if they choose to follow the breadcrumbs, but we no longer sell anything. And I think writers, many of the writers that I know and meet and talk with, are wanting to sell something. We no longer sell
Exactly.
anything anymore. We show up, we be ourselves, and we attract the people just like friends. We attract people that are like us, that have something interesting, even if they're not like us, and people we just want to hang out with. And then that leads them naturally into, well, if I'm going to hang out with, I like hanging out with them on social media. I like hanging out with them when I get their newsletter. I might spend 8 hours and hang out with them and read their book. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the choice that falls on the reader. So I really think that we need to get directly to your question of how to get out there. I really think that, as you were saying initially, you know how the book world and the film world and all the visual world is all coming together. Put yourself out there in a multimedia mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and that will attract people into you because it's discoverability, right? Again,
Precisely.
there's people who like to look at social media. They like to follow it. There's people who like to read newsletters. There's like people who like to learn. And there comes your YouTube channel. And so all of that stuff coming together creates an audience of people who actually want to, in their minds, there's this feeling too of now psychologically, lots of studies done on it where people feel like a celebrity or somebody dies, and you would think by the way people were asking that it was their best friend,
Yeah.
because they're that close. But people are looking, starving for that connection with other
Mm-hmm.
people. And if you provide that in an honest way, I think you build an audience and you become high profile. And then what leads from there, as I said before, jokingly, you could be anything you want after that point, in all seriousness, because you've created a group of people who actually have a genuine, not a pressured sales, not any kind of thing, but a genuine interest in who you are and
Exactly.
what your product is.
I think that's great advice. I mean, you want to attract people who get you
Yes,
and who are
absolutely.
interested in you, not, force them to look at you. It's like when I used to do book signings, I would sit at a table, maybe toward the front of the store sometimes in the back, and I would see people and say, "Do you enjoy mysteries?" That's the way I would introduce myself.
Hmm.
And if they didn't, well, okay, never mind. I don't want to bother you. I just happened to write them. If somebody was interested, I would just say, well, this is my book, and I would tell them about it.
Uh-huh.
And it was simple as that to make a sale sometimes.
Yeah.
But that kind of personal touch tends to get missing sometimes in all the technology.
Yeah. And I think that it's really, what do you want? And I think there's, the I want to be famous, I want to make a whole lot of money. Those aren't good reasons to be
No,
a writer. Um, I want you to buy my book is not even necessarily a good reason for be a writer. I want to write something that communicates to you. Now there's a good reason to be a writer. And
exactly.
what that and the beautiful thing about that is I have control over that. I can refine and refine. I mean, I have a limit to my talent. I have a limit to my skill set, but I can refine and refine to the point that I feel like I am communicating with you. And that should be the end result for me as a writer. And you know what? That takes the whole sales pressure off
Hmm.
of everything. This is a story that meant something or means something to me. And I hope it means something to you. But and if you don't want to buy it, it's probably in the library, it's somewhere else. You can get it. It doesn't matter. But the focus, I think, really once again is on the audience now, rather than on us as writers trying to hawk our wares.
Exactly.
It's on building that connection, because it's the connection that people are starved for, but B, it's the connection that brings them in and wants them to be a part of your life, which includes all of your books and everything else.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Yeah. Um, what would you say a typical day is like for you?
A typical day.
A typical day, if there is such a thing.
Well, now I'm giving away my trade secrets, right? And
Uh-oh.
people who are trying to find me know what's going on now. I wake up very early. and I do emails to catch up on what happened over the night. And then I turn my email program off and I turn my phone off.
Good
And
move.
and then around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, my wife gets home and we have dinner, and then I go out and work some more. And then the last thing I do around 8 o'clock, I look at emails and clean out my email box. And that way I haven't been bothered all day long by emails. And I answer emails, and then that's clear. And then I shut everything up. And then because I do so many interviews for the next 2 hours, I'm usually reading books, not always. I don't want to say ones that I don't want to read, because I only review and do interviews with people that I really am, turned on by. And
Hmm.
so, but it's not books that I would. There's some books that come out that I say I want to just personally read that. I'm not going to interview the author. I'm not going to do anything. And I
Hmm.
find I don't get to do that because that's, my job requires that I read the stuff for my interviews. Just like you're doing here with me. And so that's my typical day. Then I go to bed and I sleep very well, and then I get up the next morning and I do it, and I do that 7 days a week. And
Wow.
yes, I don't take time off. I lose momentum if I take time off, and I really am just very grateful for having a job where I can be creative. I have an incredible team that works with me at American Blackguard, and I would, I put them up and match them against anybody. They are incredible. They're supportive. They're understanding. They're compassionate. They care about not only what's going on within our nucleus, but also care about people through Killer Nashville, because they work on Killer Nashville as well. And then we started the streaming service, The Balanced Rider. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're there, and they're very supportive. And so my family is very supportive of my lifestyle and work. And so when you have all the boxes checked, why not show up and play every day? I can remember as a kid, um, I would wake up in the morning and write a story, or I'd wake up in the morning and get my 8 millimeter camera, and we would,
Mm.
I'd take off with my buddies and we would start shooting a film. And I don't think much has changed in all of that time. I'm still that little kid with a manual typewriter and an 8 millimeter black and white camera. So and it's play. Kids don't wake up in the morning and work. They wake up in the morning and play. And so 7 days a week, yes, 7 days a week, because I absolutely love it, and I feel very fortunate to have been given an opportunity to do the things that I love.
Well, that's fantastic. And you're doing a great job. It's amazing what you're doing.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
what advice would you give to people who want to make a living as a writer?
Right. And that sounds silly, doesn't it? But right. Uh, don't spend all your time focused on trying to be successful. Don't spend all your time focused on trying to get people to like you on Facebook, and don't spend time looking at social media. Write. After I do my emails in the morning, I write. I don't, like today, my son came home and said, "Have you eaten today?" And I said, "No." And he brought me a sandwich. So, but most days I don't even eat breakfast, or I don't eat lunch, because I drink a lot of coffee, but I'm really into what I'm doing, to the point that my physical sensations don't seem to matter that much. It's what's
Wow.
going on here. And then I have dinner, in the evening. So I pretty much just I just focus in on what I'm working on. And what was your original question with that one right there?
Oh, just what your advice would be to somebody who wants to make a living as a writer.
Yeah, so yeah, that and so that comes down to that. I after I do those emails in the morning, I start writing and I write and I'm an outliner and I do research and I'm writing from and doing research and outlining from that point all the way until 5 o'clock. And I've been able in my life to get a lot of product out. And I think, you can't become that celebrity that you want to be as a writer until you've got product that's available. I mean, it's somebody can say I have this incredible idea for some new toothpaste. Well, until you can go to your local shopping market and buy the toothpaste, it really doesn't matter. So I would
Exactly.
say what is the best thing for writers to do is write. Forget all of this peripheral stuff that's going on, and our society really there's this whole market that I think capitalizes on writers by saying, let me teach you how to be a social media success. Let me teach you about branding. Let me teach you about marketing. And my question is, what are you marketing? If you don't have your book, what are you marketing? You're not,
Exactly.
so what's my advice to writers? Write. Spend the
Just keep
time writing. And then, once you get something perfected to the point that you feel I doubt if it's perfect, but it's the best I can do. Uh,
exactly.
at that point, you put it out into the world and then you go back and write something else. And I really think you don't, there's this whole pressure that's on, I'm writing something and it has to be super successful and I have to make a lot of money off of it. No, where you're successful and where people become successful is their backlist, not that front list book that comes out. Sure, you got to have the front list because you got to have front list to get to the back list, right? But it's people discovering these little nuggets that you've written. And that can be short stories, essays, poems. I mean, lots of people have gotten agents, they've gotten people who bought their books because they saw, your mystery story published in a particular mystery periodical and said, well, I really like what Debbi Mack is doing there and check her out. And lo and behold, she's got some books. And so I buy a book. And those backlists then move things along. So I really think the best advice you can give a writer is write. The best, I grew up as the son of a brick mason, and I knew how to lay brick. And the best way to build a house is brick by brick.
That's
And
it.
if you're not bricking the house, then you're not producing anything. So, right.
So right. So correct. Yes, absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish up?
No, I always enjoy talking to you. We get seems like we have our little annual gathering
I
here, and it
know,
seems
yeah.
like such a treat. But what I was thinking today is that I was like, okay, oh, good, I get to see Debbi Mack today, and then I was like, it couldn't have been a year since the last time we had a conversation, but I guess it was
It
time
was actually a year,
just
yeah.
just flies. So I guess the last comment I want to make is for your listeners who are writers, because time passed so quickly between the last time I talked to Debbi and now. Um, Everything about your life is passing so quickly. And if you don't write today, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But if you don't write for 30 days, if you don't write for a year, if you don't, you've lost some incredible time to share your story and to share your perspective with other people and learn new skills and have a great time. I mean, you and I know writing is incredibly fun, They say it's solitary and lonely. I don't know. I've got a head full of characters and stuff, so it never gets lonely for me. They won't shut up,
Exactly.
So it's a lovely time, but time does pass quickly, and I really would encourage, if your listeners are not diligently doing, you don't have to be crazy like me and do 7 in the morning to 10 at night, every single day for 7 days a week, 365 a year. You don't have to be crazy like that, but donate 30 minutes or something every day and just write something that helps you discover something new about yourself, because I think that's what writing really is for me. Even if it's fictional, it's discovering something new about myself, and I think the growth that comes from that enhances the rest of your life. The not the distance of your life, but the surrounding life that you have at the present. And I would encourage your listeners to pick up a pen or start typing, and just make it a practice every day, because time is fleeting, and you've got all this in here, and you
Hmm.
need to share it out there so people know it.
Amen to that. I agree with you completely. The book will not write itself. You have to
No,
get started.
no, no. And the funny thing is about writing, the book doesn't write itself. It evolves, and you
Hmm.
evolve as you go along. And I really think it's the evolution of it all that provides the center of who you are as a writer. And that's how you improve and grow, by not necessarily growing as a writer or growing as a social media marketer or whatever. It's growing as a person, because that
Mm,
personhood is going to come through in that writing that you do.
I agree. I agree. These are great points. Thank you, Clay.
Absolutely, Debbie, and thank you for having me on your show. I always look forward to it.
I do too. It's good to see you, and I'm glad you were on today, and
Yeah.
very happy to have you on.
Yeah. And if anybody would like to, get more of what I'm talking about and stuff, I'd love for them to check out my newsletter, a weekly newsletter where I give more tips on writing, marketing, the writer's life, and everything like that. And then, we've got Killer Nashville coming up. Everybody check out killernashville.com. My website is claystafford.com. And then, for those people who are not able to come to conferences, we're putting 5,000 sessions up on a new streaming service called The Balanced Writer. And go to thebalancedwriter.com and check that out. So if you can't afford to go to conferences, then let the conference come to you. Once again, it's streaming in, not TV anymore. It's streaming into whatever device you have.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that information, Clay, because I'm sure a
Absolutely.
lot of people appreciate that. I would also like to thank my Patreon supporters, as well as my supporters on Substack. Your generosity really does mean the world to me. My thanks to everyone who's listening. Thank you, Clay, for being here again. It was always, is enjoyable to talk to you. And if you would, listeners, please leave a review for the podcast if you enjoyed this episode. They help. So with that, that's it for me. Until next time, my guest will be Jonathan Whitelaw next time. And until then, take care and happy reading.